We are here for part two of this week's session with Cern Basher. On part one, if you didn't see it, you should go back and look because we talked about regulatory credits. I mean, how interesting is that? And it should be interesting to you because it's generated $8 billion for Tesla's coffers over the last multiple number of years. Cern, when we broke up the session into two parts, you had a cartoon that we didn't get to talk about. I don't know if you want to bring that back up and see if we can understand it.
I will. I will. This is a cartoon that depicts today's market environment.
I see. I see.
It's a bull that looks like a snail, and the guy is saying, "Not a good sign, but not terrible."
By the time this video is out, we will have seen the employment numbers on Friday. So this might have entirely new an entirely new meaning by the time we actually produce this.
Yeah, sometimes snails meet a terrible demise. So I don't know how this one will work out for this guy.
Yeah, yeah. We had a snail. We had escargot. California has escargot snails. The snails that, I mean, they're not. Anyway, they're California versions, but it's the same genus or whatever. And one of my sons managed to grab one of those and put it into our silverware drawer one time.
Oh, nice.
That did not go over well with the ladies in the house.
No.
It's not
No,
good.
it wouldn't.
Not good. Yeah.
Well, they might appreciate this a little bit better. In the EU, wind and solar have overtaken fossil power in the first half of 2024.
Yes, sir.
So that's pretty exciting.
Yep.
Let's hope this continues. Let's hope this trend is headed, these lines are headed in the right direction. They stay there.
Those Nordic countries or the northernmost countries in Europe are really, really seemingly making some very smart moves in energy. Not just in oil, gas, across the board. I mean, everything. They're becoming quite the energy brokers.
Yeah, and I would say that countries like Spain and Portugal have the opportunity to be the Saudi Arabia of energy for Europe. I thought this was kind of a neat little image, a little dot there that says you live here. And you can't tell that's Earth, but I guess that's Earth size relative to the sun.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's plenty of solar energy out there. We just need to capture it.
True.
All right, this was kind of interesting. Unitree had this little video. They showed their bot, which previously looked like the one on the left. And someone got a bright idea to add some wheels to it. And if you get a chance to see the video, it's kind of neat. This bot is pretty amazing. It zips around pretty fast. It was on this skateboard or BMX track, probably a skateboard track. Navigated this with ease.
Wow.
It went upstairs without any problem at all. It went over a little fence. It could even stand and balance on two legs and go down the curve of the track there on the left.
Interesting.
So I think, humanoid robots, absolutely fantastic, but we're also going to see plenty of bots on wheels. Plenty of bots on wheels.
Yes.
I don't think that humanoids necessarily need wheels or should have wheels, but I would like to see a humanoid bot roller skate or be on a skateboard. I think that would be fun.
Yeah.
Perhaps Scott can discuss the pros and cons of that, but I think that would be fun to see a humanoid. Yeah.
We haven't talked about Scott on this channel for a while. I mean, on your program anyway. Yeah.
We haven't, but Scott's been busy. He's been out in California.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm assuming he's back now. He must be close to home again.
He was on yesterday. He was plowing through Louisiana. So I don't know if you're at Louisiana at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, how soon are you going to be in Florida?
Yeah, he's probably home by now.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Shifting gears, vehicle registrations in China for Tesla. I think a lot of people are probably under the impression that Tesla is doing very poorly in China this year. And it turns out that that may not be the case, and certainly for not much longer. Tesla is about 6,000 vehicles behind last year's pace.
Hmm.
It was looking a bit more bleak than that earlier in the year, but things are starting to catch up. So it's possible that Tesla actually has a record this year of vehicle sales in China, or at least very similar to last year's results.
And is this the number made in China or sold in China?
Vehicle registration. So this is
Okay,
sold in
registration.
China.
I see it now. Yes. Okay.
Yep. Yep. So far 322,000 this year, and compared to 328,000 this time last year.
Of course, we're thinking that we'd like to see 20, 30, 50% increases year over year, but just catching up would this year would be a very nice sign. Yeah.
It would be. Yep. And then this is from the Canadians. Clean Energy Canada put out this little booklet. The scenic route, electric vehicles already save Canadians thousands of dollars. In 2024, the electric road trip has never looked more appealing. So this is actually quite a neat little publication. And they suggest in here that a typical EV saves drivers roughly $30,000, or about $3,000 a year over the 10-year life of the vehicle, the assumed 10-year life of the vehicle. And then they compare a Tesla Model 3 rear-wheel drive with a Lexus. And the retail price of the Tesla is just under 50,000 Canadian dollars. Okay, and they're saying that total ownership cost is 62,000 versus the Lexus, which has a similar retail price, but a total ownership cost of just over $100,000.
Yeah.
So the Lexus is 61% more expensive than the Tesla.
Well, maybe Elon should buy a few 100,000 or a few million copies of this brochure and pass them around.
Well, hopefully the Canadian government puts it in the hands of every Canadian. There's also some pages in here that compare other EV brands to other other vehicles. So it's not just a Tesla comparison. But I thought they did a nice job here.
Yeah, it's very good.
I like this point over here on the left. Break-even point, already cheaper. Don't have to wait long to break even on this vehicle. All right, shifting gears to Tesla investing in xAI.
Yeah.
I think quite a bit of discussion has been had now about this, and Larry has shared his thoughts, very well considered. This is an interesting thing to think about. I agree with him in terms of it being a nice strategic investment for Tesla. I'm on board with that.
Okay.
I think that the work that xAI is doing is actually very important for the brains of the vehicles and the humanoid robots. So having strategic investment in that company, I think, would make sense. However, xAI could be a very expensive proposition. We're seeing how much money Microsoft and Meta are spending, right, to build these AI models. And this is going to be an expensive arms race for a long time to come. So, Tesla needs to be careful about committing too much capital to that. But my sense is that what people are really looking for is an opportunity to invest in everything that Elon touches.
Right.
And so I'm offering the idea here that, what do we really want? Is it investment in Musk Inc. that I'm calling? Right? Would people like to be able to invest in Tesla, SpaceX, xAI, Boring Company, Neuralink?
I think there's every reason to believe that is true. Yes.
Yeah. Now, Elon has plenty on his plate, and setting up an ETF, may not be the best use of his time. Now, he doesn't have to do it, but this might be an interesting idea to set up a fund that invests its money in all these companies.
Yeah.
Now, there are some challenges because only one of these companies is a public company.
Right.
So when more money is added to the fund, the only thing the fund could really buy right now would be Tesla, and it would have to wait to invest in any of the other companies.
until next rounds.
the next rounds, or until there was a sale, if there was a sale that was facilitated, if some of the employees needed to sell shares or whatever, those kinds of opportunities.
Well, also the people holding them, right?
Yeah.
So Ron Barron could decide that maybe he would unload some of those, or probably Ron
Right.
Barron could set up the ETF with the shares he already owns.
Yeah. There is now a fairly big secondary market for private company shares.
Right.
It's a bit opaque and a bit of a challenge, but that's becoming a bigger deal.
Mm-hmm.
But an Elon Musk ETF could be interesting.
Yes.
Now, speaking of Ron Barron, in his partners fund, right? And again, this is not investment advice. I'm not recommending any of these investments.
Yeah.
But the partners fund, almost 30% of it's in Tesla stock.
Mm.
He's got another 13% in SpaceX, and he's got a little sliver. I think it's like 0.2 or 0.3% in X.
Mm.
And that's great. That's one way to get some exposure to something else besides Tesla, but you're also getting exposure to a whole bunch of other companies,
right,
that you may or may not want.
Mm-hmm.
And the expense ratio is 2% per year.
Mm.
I guess not crazy in terms of being able to invest in some private companies, but that is high.
Mm-hmm.
That's a pretty big drag on the results. Okay. Now, there was some news recently that Barron was going to start a couple of other funds.
Yeah.
To invest in some Tesla ventures. This is an article from Bloomberg. And here they're talking about having some funds with the management fees of like 1%.
Mm.
And just investing in SpaceX or XAI. But the capital would be locked up for 8 years.
I see.
And the fee would fall in half should SpaceX or XAI become publicly traded.
Mm-hmm.
So that's also kind of interesting, but locking up your money for 8 years is kind of scary.
Oh.
Right. Some people might think they can do that, and then turns out that they can't.
Yeah. Yeah.
For whatever reason. So, this is great. We've also got ARK Invest
Mm-hmm.
that have this ARK venture fund. This is a little bit different of an animal. So this is a closed-end interval fund. So it's like a mutual fund, but you can't just buy and sell it anytime you want. They say here on the left side, you can sell up to 5% of net asset value can be redeemed by investors each quarter. And that's only if they can make that available. There's no guarantee. Because this fund has its assets invested in private companies.
Right.
If they don't have the liquidity, then you can't get your money out, even though, you might be able to get out 5%.
Right.
The fund has an expense ratio of about, it's under 3%.
Wow.
ARK right now is eating some of the costs. You can see that the gross expense ratio is close to 6%, and ARK is eating some of that because it's relatively small. It's only a $64 million fund right now.
Okay.
As of the end of June. And this fund has about 13% in SpaceX. And I believe there might be an investment in XAI as well. I forget the exact percentage, but it doesn't make the top 10.
Got it. Mm-hmm.
For humanoid robot fans, you can see that Figure is in this fund as well, but that's not a Musk Inc. investment. So there are some different ways, of investing in some of Musk's enterprises besides Tesla. Here in this ARK fund, you can see that 88% is private companies. So there's not a lot of liquidity that could be available from the public side, right? If they're only putting 11.5% in public companies.
Right, right.
If a good chunk of people decide they want out, then they have to start selling some of the private investments at some point, if they can.
Mm-hmm.
So I just thought it would be interesting to, for Elon to think about anyway, creating some kind of vehicle. It doesn't have to be Tesla making the investments in these companies.
Right, right. No, and I'm surprised kind of that none of these ETF folks, the folks that put these together, why they haven't realized the opportunity amongst this massive Musk retail investing class
Yeah.
to do something like this.
Well, I think it's difficult to get their hands on the shares that they would want.
Yeah, well, that's probably the biggest problem.
Right. And unless Elon wants to allow that, then it's not going to happen. But if he created it himself, then that would be a possibility.
I could see that X.com, I'm sorry, XAI could definitely need more money next year. I won't be surprised, I suppose, if X.com doesn't need some more money. Neuralink, that's you'd think that would be eating up cash. SpaceX, maybe not. SpaceX might be generating cash now at this point. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, it seems like there's opportunities downstream where there's going to be needed cash.
There should be. There will be, I think. Yeah. Yeah. So we'll see what happens with this.
Yep.
And maybe there'll be some other providers that are able to create something as well. We talked about Tesla Semi recently, and this was a nice sort of render of what the building will look like.
Yeah.
This came from the head of Tesla Semi group. I don't know why they spelled semi, backwards like this. To me, they should, put the letters in a different way. But it's going to be a pretty big factory. Randy, have you heard what the capacity of this factory is going to be? Is that something that you've seen any information on?
The only thing that we've heard is that they will make 50,000 vehicles there. I don't think anybody has said that's maximum capacity.
Mm-hmm.
That's the expected first phase, if you will, 2026 expectation.
Okay. Yeah, that certainly seems like it should have capacity for at least that.
Yeah, I've not heard anything more than just that.
Yeah. Tesla did recently release some new photos of the Semi. Here, 4 of them, I guess, charging. So that was kind of a nice shot. And then here's another one of the Semi driving along, the parking lot, kicking up some dust in Nevada.
Yes, indeed.
As you know, I like to talk about the Cybertruck at the end of our show here. And this week we had the pleasure of seeing this video of the Cybertruck at a tractor pull.
Yeah.
The Cybertruck being the tractor doing the pulling. And it did very well. And the audio in this, you can hear the crowd. They really can't believe what they're seeing, with a few choice words as the truck is moving down the track, and they just can't believe it. But if seeing is believing, now we have a crowd of people that believe what the Cybertruck is capable of.
Right.
So this is pretty impressive.
I thought I heard that it won the tractor pull, or that was that the final decision, or I can't remember. I just saw the one headline.
Yeah, I that's possible. I'm sure there's all kinds of different categories. I'm not well schooled in tractor pulls.
Me either.
Different weight classes and that kind of thing. But yeah, I would imagine that the Cybertruck did extremely well. Yep. And then this image I thought was fantastic. I'm a big fan of pumpkin cannons. I love seeing pumpkins fly through the air. So the idea of a Cybertruck towing this thing around the countryside is fantastic.
Oh my. I did see it. I'm surprised you didn't have, maybe you do. Maybe I'm just getting ahead of you again, but the fellow that was talking about how good his truck is doing as a farm vehicle. Is saying that the heck with you guys, no, it's a great farm vehicle. So.
Yeah. I did see a video of I'm not sure if it's him, but he took out the HEPA filter. And it was pretty dirty. So if you're going to use it on the farm, you're going to have to clean the filter.
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
Pretty regularly. He was banging it on the ground, and there was a nice pile of dirt beneath. Yeah. Now this pumpkin cannon here should really be named Fud Fighter.
Yeah.
And you could drive around the country launching some pumpkins to fight the FUD. That could be fun. But
Yes, yes.
anyway, Randy, that brings us to the end of our slideshow.
Yeah, I understand that the current administration is planning to send some of those over to the Ukraine. This is, one of the ways they're hoping to defeat the Ruskies
Well, or feed them.
or feed them something.
Yeah. No,
Well, okay. Listen, we will be looking forward to more like this. We have to prove. So this may not be up your alley, although I understand that you do stuff with stocks as a profession, something about helping people with their investments or something, and apparently doing quite well at it because you don't actually do any work. You just put these slideshows together and play around on X. So this must be an easy job for you. But I'm thinking that I've been trying, people are asking me to prove my case for the $700 a share once Tesla goes, actually has robotaxi on the road physically. It's a fait accompli. The app is ready, the car is ready. The people like you and me who have the Teslas can put them out for revenue. That the stock will go to 700. And so my proof case has to do with the fact that we were already at 410 when that was just a hope. And so why wouldn't we be at significantly over that, especially when the company is well over double the size that it was then. And with everything else that's happening, including Optimus, that 700 should not even be a reach. So that if we get there by the end of the year, we could be looking at $700 a share. So I've been trying to figure out ways to kind of try to speculate in more with more charts, graphs, spreadsheets, things like that, as to why 700, or maybe that's low. Maybe once it's a actual product and it's out there making money, 700 will be low. But it's not going to be Cathie's number 2700 the day after it launches.
Right.
It's going to have a stream of proof of income, proof of net income. We're going to need to see what it actually produces. But just the fact that it's out there and running, and that FSD is at 100% level 5, I would think there's a number that we could back into or drive into. That's right, it doesn't have reverse yet. So
yeah, although that should be easily solved. I don't proclaim to know, the madness of men and what's in their minds. But from the way I approach it is I look at the business model and how it changes under robotaxi, right? And we've talked about that a couple times in recent weeks in terms of what that looks like. You go from selling vehicles and earning $4,500 once every 5 years, let's say, maybe either 10 years, to a recurring revenue model where you're selling rides. You're not selling a vehicle anymore.
Right.
Right. And by the way, selling a ride is a lot less politically divisive than buying a vehicle for, $40,000, $45,000, $50,000, whatever it is. That's a bigger decision. And you're almost casting a vote when you do that, right? Do I support this guy or this company and what he stands for? But a ride, that's just a small amount of money. So I think a lot of sort of Tesla's, political challenges might dissipate when they shift to that. Anyway, that's an aside. But the nature of the business model changes so dramatically when they go from selling vehicles to selling rides. Right? We've talked about that a lot here.
Right.
The question that you're getting at is when do people recognize that, and when does that begin to be valued in the company's stock? Okay. So we know for sure that once the company has been doing this for a few years, then we can look back and say, okay, in year 1, they had this revenue. In year 2, they grew it by X%. Year 3, they grew X%. And we know the margins. Oh my gosh, look at this profitable business.
Right.
We can run the numbers and we can say, here's what it's worth.
Right.
Okay, no problem. How about in year 2? Can we do the same thing? Yes,
problem, sir.
with a little bit more projection, but yes. How about in year 1? Well, we don't have any growth numbers, but we can see the business model. We can see what they're charging.
Right.
and how much they're making per mile and what the cost per mile is.
Right.
So I maintain that the absolute clearest focus will be, year 3, but we have pretty clear focus going all the way back to the year 1, even that starting point.
Right.
And I'm hoping that on October 10th, we even get some clarity on their approach and their pricing. So some of the questions that were being asked in the Q2 earnings call that Elon did not want to answer, right? For good reason. He has an event coming up where that may be discussed.
Right.
So this is a long-winded way of saying, I don't know when the stock hits 700 or 2,700, but I'm confident that the company is changing its business model in such a way that those prices become fully possible.
Right.
I just don't know when. I'm not really in the business of predicting when. The clients that I have are long-term investors, and we want to own good quality companies for the longest time we can. And we don't want to have to be buying and selling, because I don't want the capital gains taxes to take away our clients' capital. We want that to compound. So I'm much less concerned about the when. I'm more focused on sort of what it looks like and how, what the business model ultimately looks like. But $700 on the stock, it's entirely within the realm of possibility if this opportunity becomes a little bit more clear. And again, I don't think the clarity needs to be, oh, they're generating rides and this much revenue and the growth has been XYZ. It's just, what does this business model look like, and what's their plan for rolling it out?
Right. And then literally, if it hasn't happened, just over that part, which I think it will, once there's wheels on the ground and you begin to get any kind of data in terms of the community themselves saying, oh, I put my car out yesterday and I got 100 miles out of it, or, I put my car out this last month and I've already generated $3,000 in revenue or whatever. I think those kinds of things will happen so fast.
Yeah, and the other thing that's really interesting that I've done a little bit of work on is what happens to the value of existing Tesla vehicles.
Yeah.
Right. We're taking depreciating machines and turning them into money-making machines. It doesn't take a math wizard to figure out that depreciating machine is now worth a lot more if it's now a money printer. So you're going to have a lot of animal spirits in the used car market as it relates to Tesla as well.
We need a cartoon for that.
Not just animal spirits in the stock market, but animal spirits in the physical market for used cars.
Yeah.
Right. And I've done some projections on what I think that could be in terms of how much more Tesla's worth.
Oh, interesting.
Right. I think maybe you and I have talked about it. If not, we can discuss that sometime. But depending on your assumption, for a robotaxi, cost and revenue and that kind of thing, you can work back into what is the value of a used Tesla that's FSD capable.
Yeah.
And for how many years, can you put it in the fleet? How long will it last? Kind of thing.
Right. It's buying a business.
It's buying a business. That's a really good point, right? Every person that has a Tesla can become a robotaxi business owner in essence.
Right.
That's right. So there could be a lot of excitement in the stock market as it relates to Tesla, and there could be a lot of excitement in the used car market for Tesla.
Yeah.
And lately, in the last couple of years, that's been pretty bleak. The value of a used Tesla's gone down a lot. Right. And so that could change very quickly when robotaxi rolls out and people start to see how much money they can earn.
So think about Hertz. Hertz buys them at the top. I mean, you can't do any worse than this. You buy them at the top. You don't really understand them well enough to understand what the relationship is going to be with the consumer. So you don't train the consumers how to drive them and how to treat them. Then, so you get burned. You get burned on the fact that you're having more repairs and more problems with them because you haven't gone to that trouble. Then you have the boom bust gets down to the bust stage. And so now the value of those used vehicles has dropped dramatically. So you sell them at the bottom, which was the announcement this morning that they're selling. This is, by the way, Thursday when we're recording this. So Thursday morning, there's this announcement that they're going to sell way more. They're selling through like crazy. They're selling lots and lots of them, and they're going to sell, and then they'll be selling them at these low prices. And 6 months from now, they might be worth 3 times what they are now.
If you think about the MBA case studies in the business schools in future years, there'll be the one about Tesla
And
developing FSD and robotaxi, and then there'll be a little footnote about Hertz.
That's
yeah.
Maybe Hertz would allow me to buy some options on some of those used vehicles.
Yeah, no, buying high and selling low is never a good idea.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, Hertz, I think, did hurt themselves tremendously. Yeah.
And they blamed it all on Tesla, which is just absolutely backwards.
Right.
If you buy high I had friends that were buying cars during that period, and I'm like, why are you buying a car now? This is nuts. This is not going to last. Anyway, somebody could have told Hertz. I don't know how people miss these things. All right. I think we've done that one to death.
Yeah, I think to your point, there's some exciting, interesting times ahead.
Right.
When the robotaxi network gets turned on for the first time.
Right.
Elon took great pains, I thought, in the last quarterly earnings call to talk about switching the fleet on.
Yeah.
There was a question about sort of how incremental is this going to be? Are you going to geofence it? Are you going to introduce it in certain markets? And Elon talked about, no, we're going to flip the switch. Now, maybe there's some regulatory challenges to that, or maybe not. Right? We'll have to see. But Elon wants to turn on as many vehicles at once as he can.
Yep.
That's very clear.
Oh, there's some clear regulatory issues with regard to airports and things that'll have to be dealt with.
Yeah.
Some cities have cab regulations. Some rural cities or smaller cities are going to be thrilled because they don't have cabs at all.
Yeah.
Until Uber, they had no service in some of these small towns at all.
That's right.
So this will be I think this will be a plus for a lot of places and not regulated in many places.
That's right. Yeah, no, it's going to be incredible to watch. And so, back to your $700, to me, that's a signpost along the way.
Yeah, exactly.
Up again. Yeah, all these, even the ARC number, their price target, that's a signpost along the way. Because bots, and Elon has said this as well, and we've been saying this, bots are the ultimate price. If you think robotaxi changes Tesla, just wait until bots comes along.
And it's just not that far.
And it's not that far. Both of them may actually happen around the same time.
True, it's true. CERN, as always, a thrill a minute. And I mean that sincerely. I hope you guys are thrilled too. Let us know in the comments below if you don't think that this show with CERN is always a thrill a minute. So many of you have said such kind things about him in the past, and I agree.
Thank you, Randy.
Thank you. And to all of you out there, it's been great talking to you.